myself this morning. Massive thanks to our listeners, whether you're joining us live or a later time. Daryl, so the key question on Monday morning, the panel is focused on deal optimization. Delighted Stephen Johnson's going to be on that panel on Monday. For the listeners out there, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know who Stephen Johnson was. When I say was, founded, well, co-founded Shawbrook. But not everyone knows Lendwell. Shawbrook is known, I would say, by almost everyone in the property industry, or I would say 95%. I'll be amazed if there's anyone who's not, but there may be one or two. Founded Lendwell. So do you want to just explain about Lendwell? I'm just going to share this video onto my personal profile as well.
Yeah, so Lendwell's, we're a small team. Most of us were involved in running Shawbrook Bank, and we had a great time there. It's where we all met. And last year, we all sort of decided for various different reasons that we wanted to do something different. So for us, we're not a bank, and we don't intend to be a bank, but we're a small private lender. So we do bridging loans, we do property sales loans, which is also sometimes called development exit lending.
Sorry, say that again.
We do
bridging loans. No, you said bridging.
Bridging property sales loans. They're sometimes called development exits. It's where if you're a developer and you've built out a block of flats or a row of houses or something like this, and you run out of time, and you either need a little bit of money to finish off, or you just need some additional time to be able to sell them through, and your development lender won't extend the loan, then we come in, repay the development lender back, help you finish the properties and give you enough time to sell them. So that's been a product that's been around for 5 or 6 years now, actually. But I suspect there'll be quite a high demand for it at the end of this year, because of course COVID caused lots of building site delays, and some development lenders will be very accommodating of that, and some won't, depending on who they are and what their sort of internal funding pressures are. And then we also do a lot, and this is probably our main market really, of sort of refurbishment and light development schemes. So kitchens, bathrooms, through to extensions, loft conversions, commercial to residential, and pretty much everything apart from building a house on a field.
Okay. So Daryl, in terms of deal flow, do you want to just say why it's so key to have structure in place as well? So it was a winning vote on Zoom. So we had a poll on Zoom and business optimization during COVID-19 or C19, as I've seen it written now as well. So it's interesting to say the least. So do you want to just elaborate why deal flow, deal efficiency is so important?
Yeah, so for me, I spend most of my days looking at various different deals that come in either from developers, investors, or from brokers quite often. And it's really quite time consuming. And what you kind of need to be able to do, and I think this is the same for a lender as it is for an investor or a developer, is you need to very quickly be able to filter out what deals look doable, what ones look like the winners, and spend the time doing kind of the sort of further due diligence on those ones, and then what deals are just kind of never going to work, and don't spend too much time on them and move on quickly. And one of my observations is, when I see a lot of people doing deal analysis, particularly for development schemes, is they spend an awful lot of time doing very, very manual due diligence. So things like they work all of the numbers out themselves each time. I've seen a number of development appraisal templates, which is really just kind of like a spreadsheet that talks through the numbers on the scheme from different people that are clearly done sort of individually for that particular deal every single time. And in a market like we've got now, I believe there'll be lots and lots of buying opportunities, but they won't all be good ones. So the bottom line is you very, very quickly need to be able to get to the point where you can look at any given deal and say whether or not you think it's one that you could do and is a winner, and also what your maximum price is that you would pay for that property for the rest of the numbers to work. So those might be certain profit on GDV numbers you're looking at, profit on cost numbers you're looking at. They might be your return on cash. They might be trying to figure out, if I buy this property and I refurbish it and I refinance it, how much money gets left in? what's the return on that money from a rental perspective. There's lots of different numbers to think about when trying to assess whether a deal works or not. So we've spent quite a lot of time, mostly Stephen actually, at Lendwell, trying to automate as much of that as we can, because the quicker you can do the kind of quick headline analysis on the deal, particularly around the numbers, the more deals you can look at, and you can spend your time on the ones that are likely to go somewhere. And I do believe property is pretty much a numbers game. The more deals you look at, the more good ones you will find, but also the more bad ones you'll find. And you need to be able to kind of get rid of those bad ones quickly and then focus your time on the good ones.
So look, in terms of the attendees on Monday, there's going to be a different spectrum of attendance. So there's going to be developers there, I'm sure. We've got investors as well. So look, I asked this question to Grace the other day as well. I ask you as well. So in investors, why is deal flow, deal efficiency? Be interested in hear your perspective. Why is it so important for investors? Let's say maybe hands-off investors, armchair stroke investors, where they don't necessarily go to see all the deals, literally maybe looking at crowdfunding websites, maybe potential joint ventures, however the deal comes. Why is it so important? Maybe not for a developer, but just an investor.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't see too many hands-off investors anymore. I think it's a difficult market to do that in, actually, because there's quite a lot of headwinds in terms of that sort of negatively affect the profitability for investment property at the moment. You know, we've had all the various tax changes around rental income over the last few years. We had the 3% stamp duty levy come in. So I see more people wanting to be more involved in deals rather than less, in order to add some value and generate some extra income. But if you were looking to do kind of armchair investments, particularly through another platform, then you've got two choices really. One, you don't do any due diligence really, and you sort of outsource that due diligence to the crowdfunding platform or to the JV partner. So that's easy, doesn't require any work, you don't really need to think about it, but it's also risky, because ultimately if that partner has got it wrong or has missed something, then you're the one who's going to suffer for that financially, to various extents, which could be losing all of your capital, or it could just be making no return on it. Or your other option you've got is you do the same due diligence as if it was pretty much your own deal. So you're checking whether or not that deal works before you invest through that crowd platform or
JV.
Or that JV. And for me, that's the way I would do it. As much as you need to form partnerships with people that you can trust, I think ultimately if you're putting your money into something, then you need to do your own due diligence on it and make sure that it works in your own mind. You can't rely on outside parties, however good they are.
I was going to say, someone who understands JVs, joint ventures very well is I was going to say yourself, is Adam Lawrence. So Adam's on the panel this coming Monday. I was fascinated when I listened to him last night. Hopefully I've got this right, Adam, because it was quite late at night. But he more or less said he doesn't like to do any deals himself. He likes to do JV. And if he does a JV, he feels it unfair. And this was what I thought was fascinating last night. And apologies, Adam, if I've got this wrong, but he said he thinks it's unfair if he does any just by himself, because it looks like he's picking the cream of the crop, which I thought was fascinating to say the least. So Adam's going to be on the panel, very smart guy to say the least. Look, Grace Ballantyne's passionate about business optimization. She gave a great presentation at the National Development Summit. She's from Melt Property. Ben Richards, also fascinating story behind Ben and how all architecture started off. Less on the deal flow, but more on the business side. Literally, the business was almost from a beach, I would say. It was like for the first 6 months, I think Ben said, for the first 6 months. So fascinating the systems he had to put in place. Of course, it wasn't like he just created a business out of thin air, came from Berkeley Homes. So that was a good point in his life and experience. And as I say, we've got John East from KFH as well, estate agency, on board this coming Monday morning. So look, is there any final thoughts? I was looking at all the messages. So Julie Ford is listening to us. So
Hi,
I,
Julie.
so literally, I was just trying to read the messages. So that's why my eyes were literally on my smartphone device just to see all the messages. So feel free to ask any questions. But is there anything you want to add, Daryl?
Yeah, my kind of closing thought on this would be, and obviously this will get covered in much more detail on Monday, is that every property business has to become a business at some point. So most people start off just doing property as a hobby or a kind of sideline. And if you only want to do one or two sort of simple buy-to-lets and you want to keep the day job, then to be fair, that's fine. But what most people do is they hit a point when they really want to scale that business up and they want to go full-time into property. And for me, that's the point when there's a mind shift that's required. So you're no longer doing property as a hobby. You're no longer an armchair investor, but you become a professional property person. And then it's that whole evolution of trying to build a business that happens to be in property. And it's no different to any other sector. It's all about systems. It's all about having a clear strategy. It's all about having a target market, all the normal stuff that you do for any other business. And I think it's that mindset shift. That's the bit where the business angle in property comes out and becomes really important.
So Daryl, how can people reach you? Is LinkedIn the best way?
Yeah, LinkedIn's always good. I'm quite active on there. Or the other way to get in touch is through our website. So www.lendwell.co.uk. And all of our phone numbers, emails, and we've got an inquiry form and everything on the website to get in touch.
So look, massive thanks for taking time out on Monday. Massive thanks for Stephen Johnson taking time out on Monday. As I say, you'll be in the breakout room, which is focused on funding and legal. Just for the listeners, this coming Monday, then we've got the following Monday, and then Monday the 29th, I will be sleeping in. It will be a duvet day. So I'll be taking it easy, to say the least. That doesn't mean I'm not preparing for July already. I've had conversations with Darryl about the funding panel in July already. At least one panel, possibly two, on Monday mornings in July. Obviously, with the lockdown being softened, then there's possibly less people going to be active on Monday morning. So that's why I'm reducing it. And also it gives me time to look at who's available, to be a panelist. Sometimes I do podcast interviews, and if they go really well, then I bring them on to be a speaker or a panelist. So as I say, this coming Monday is focused on business optimization. And then Monday, the 22nd of June, is focused on evolution of buy-to-let. So delighted Stuart Scott from Co-Living Spaces is going to be on that particular panel. Tony Egan and Sam Loney. I was going to say to the listeners out there, I do see these morning events continuing on a digital fashion. Do I see myself going back to a physical setting? Yes, but not in the short term, unless I move my events possibly to the Isle of Man, which I'm not planning on doing at the moment. But maybe some property meets will be starting up there fairly soon if they're not there already. So massive thanks to our listeners, whether you're listening live or at a later time. And I'll be back at 2 p.m. today. So that's Friday, the property happy hour. I've reduced that from 4 meets a month to two Fridays. And then in July, it's just going to go once in that month. I don't know the exact date. So Daryl, just massive thanks. And thanks to our listeners as well.
Thanks, Brendan.